Next we'll be discussing the pocket feature. The pocket feature is nothing but it is the material removal process where you can use this tool for removing material from existing feature by extruding the sketch to the given depth or the feature termination condition. So let us look at how to use this. So for understanding this, we'll be taking a couple of examples. And if you see the 5-24 and you see the final output result after removing this profile in this depth, and this is another case, then we'll be moving to drafted fillet, pocket, and other conditions. So let us look at this 5-24. So this is the final output. And what you have to do is you have to remove the pocket so that you will be left with your original object like this. Now, this is the pocket, and when you go to pocket, you have to select this particular profile, and here is the direction. In direction, what I need, just before I was explaining up to the next, and if you see the preview, it will read the next surface. And if you select up to the last, if you have multiple depth, there it will pick the last one. So here it is the best option to go to up to next. Also, if you know the depth, you can directly type that also, and you can reverse the direction. But here there is no material top side, so reverse does not make sense. And another example we would like to take here is this one. And here you can delete this particular profile so that you can look at this. So go to the removal, select the sketch, and here directly you can go to the up to a plane, and you can select this, and in this way also you can remove the material in that particular direction. This also, let us close it so that our session is completely cleanly maintained. Next we'll go to the drafted fillet pocket. The fillet will be there and pocket will be created and draft also will be assigned. So three things can be done at a time, and creating multi-pocket features at multiple profiles you can remove through this pocket. That option also will be looking into, and then we'll move to group features. Let us look at multi-pocket and drafted fillet concept. Here you have to open your reference part, this one, and you will be deleting this particular feature. Select anywhere and delete it, and you will be left with your sketch only. So you need to have a base reference sketch here, and then you have to go to this option, that is drafted fillet, and you have to select this. And once you select here, you can see the depth is selected. So whatever the depth you need, let us say I need 60. It is not possible, so I'll be going for 45. And limit, you can select from where you need to set the limit. From this top surface I need to set limit, and this is 45. What is the draft angle? So if you see the preview, it is drafted, and this draft angle is, let us say, 25. And now these are just like the feature which we explained inside this drafted fillet pad. Here also you have the lateral, the first and second limit radius, and you can see the preview, and this is the 25 angle, and all have been defined, and you can go to OK. These are the very straightforward three things you do at a time. You create a pocket, you apply draft, and also you apply fillet here. Next we'll be looking into the multiple pocketing operation here, how to do that. Let us say we'll be deleting this, we left with this, and now when you go to multi pockets, what happens is when you select this profile, three different multiple profiles have been selected, and independently you give your depth, let us say 20, 25, and 30. And if you go to the more, here you can control independent depth limiting also, but it is very much straightforward. And here you can see three different pockets with their depth, how much you need to cut it. Here you can change any point. I'm giving 555 each and go for OK. You could not see that. So what you need to do is you need to see the profile, and accordingly you have to specify the dimensions. This I'll be going for 20. See the preview. This I'll be going for, let us say, 30. See the preview, and so on. So independently that will be taken care, and you will be doing that. You select it and you get the display what is the outcome. So whatever the profile you have, you can independently use that for pocketing, and in most of the cases, if you require this type of a rare case, then you can of course go to this multi-pocket and process it. Else in 90% of the cases you won't require this. The pocket will be enough. Next is creating the group features. This group is nothing but the radially you try to cut, and this was the before instance, and radially you cutted this profile by processing this. So when you revolve with respect to this axis, this material will be removed. And also extrude and revolving planar and non-planar faces you could select for doing this. And here you can see this is the profile, and when the face to be selected in the direction of extrusion, out of this you can select and you can process that also. Let us look at this both the scenario. First we'll be looking at the groove. So how to create the groove. You open your reference part, this, and this is the final output. This is the another example which we're looking into. Okay, let us start with this. And this is the profile which we need to remove. And this we placed at a plane which is placed accordingly. And let me feed this so that you can see this here. This is the plane. And this all shading you are seeing because already I discussed in my first class. Here you can control this particular shading reference, shared sketch plane. You can remove it so that that will be gone. You are compatible with that. Now I'll just exit it so that here you can see the shaft and groove. If you go to the groove, what happens is it picks that particular sketch. If it is not picked, you can select this, and also you can go for the axis. This is the axis, whatever you are seeing here, that axis will be picked. And if you see the preview, the operation performed on the feature is unnecessary, so automatically it picks that. So what you need to do is, if you go to the group and see the preview, this also is not performed. So it's better to go for the step. The first you select the sketch. This is the sketch typically I'm looking for, but here it is very much unnecessary things are selected, so you need to clean the things. This is the sketch, just let me cancel it, and this is the sketch exactly which I'm looking. This is a shaft, so this I'll be looking for. You can hide this, so this is gone. So I'll go to show. So this is the particular sketch, this you need. This is the profile which I require. So go to the groove. Now you see nothing is selected, so you can select the profile, and this is the axis, sketch axis, automatically it is taking, and go to preview, and this operation will be done 360-degree, and this operation will be done. I'll undo it. It was something like this. This is the sketch. You go to groove. Directly you can see the axis from that sketch is taken. This operation performed on the feature, and groove will be created. It is very much straightforward. So, but you have to understand one thing. When you create this first sketch, this particular sketch. So here you need to place one axis. Can you see this? This is the axis, and this is what it does all the work for you. Once you place your axis and you create your sketch for inside of the profile, and once you finish that and go for the groove, so you can remove the material. So axis is very important. If you do not have the axis, no issue. What we can do is, let me delete this. This is where we are. This is the particular sketch which you can, if it is hidden like this, you can right click and you can go to show. But now if you go to the groove and select this particular feature, and you can see it is evolving, what it is doing is the sketch axis it is picking. This is the sketch axis. It sketch this axis. Just you hover the cursor, you can see this. So you don't need to select it, and if you go to preview, it does the operation. So its sketch axis is picked by default, and you can define the axis also X, Y, Z if it is not there. So this is typically the axis which you can see the Z axis. So what I can do is I can go to Z axis and see the preview and go to OK. That is also OK. You can see this here geometric axis is given Z. So Z is nothing but this vertical axis. If you do not have axis in sketch also, no problem. You can directly use this particular operation. And next we'll be looking at extruding and revolving the planar and non-planar faces. How to do that? So that option also we'll be looking at. So let me show you through this particular example. I'll just open it. And here, if you assess it, you can see this is another pad. And if you go to pad, here you can see this particular dimension is given here. And if you see this particular pad, I'll just hide this anytime. And you can just show this anytime. And these are the sketches which you can hide and show also. This is the basic profile through which we created. And now what you can do here is if you go to the particular groove, you can rotate a particular profile around that also. You can directly cut inside this. For example, if I have a sketch here and that is rounded, let us say. I do not have axis here. Okay. So if you go to the groove and select this particular axis, and I do not have any axis here. And if I'll choose the G axis with respect to which one it will take, with respect to this center point, it will take the sketch center. And if I'll go to the G axis, what happened is it is rotating through which center point. That is very, very important. So where is your Z? And if you go to the preview, it is cutting it, but some abrupt output I'm getting. So how do I fix it? So it's better in that case to have a sketch axis. So what I can do is I'll just cancel this, and maybe I need to have this particular circle center point as my axis. So how do you do that? So what you can do is directly you can create that particular axis in between. So I can go to this point on curve. Over this curve I can define, or over this center also I can define. So there are various options like circle. Here center will be there. And again I'll go to the point and select the bottom side. I'll go to the point, select the circle. Okay. Now you can see this is basically the 2 point. I'll go to my line, point to point, select this point and select this point. And here you can see the infinite start and this limit you can have, or you can directly go for infinite. And if you double click, all these parameters are taken here. Now, if you go to the groove and select this, what happens is the selection, axis selection is this. So that I can select and go to preview. Exactly, it will be cutting by orienting there. So this is the typical, the options where the group you can experiment. But very important aspect here I want to explain is the axis. Typically, you do not have to define in sketch. It could be the global direction which I have shown. It could be locally defined by using the coordinates and points and then define the line and do it, or you could define within the sketch. So any of the option that suits best, you can use it. Next, we'll be looking at the projecting 3D element, how you can project 3D element, and then you go for the sketch. Then we'll move to our projects. How you can project your 3D element, that we'll see. So for understanding this, we'll be opening our project item here. This is the final output basically, but we'll be creating this one by one. So I'll be removing some of this part body for getting this sketch. I'll just go to hide. Now, so where do I get this 3D project and how to assess that? That will be looking here. So here there are bunch of different options that already we saw, and the project I told that I'll be explaining this later, and this particular project option you can directly find, and this you can use, and this is very handy in your 3D model. And here that particular options can be used for developing and projecting over complex surfaces.